I'm going to begin the meeting at 6:01 p.m. And this meeting is being recorded by the Economic Development Committee. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chair at this time. And I see Emily is here now. Emily Ish is here also. Great.
Ash.
Pardon me.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to do a roll call of the Economic Development Committee. So Councilor DeSorger is present. Councilor Stemple Ray? Not yet. We'll be looking to see if she comes along. Councilor Hirschfield?
Here.
Councilor Elmer?
Here.
Councilor Wheeler? Okay. Can I ask for a motion to approve the minutes of July 13th?
So moved.
Seconded.
Hirschfeld.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so no negatives, nobody's opposed, and no abstentions. Next, I'm going to read the public hearing notice. I'm going to open the public hearing. So I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:03 p.m. Do I need a motion to open the public hearing, Director Tworog? Or just open it?
You do not need a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, all right. We're opening the public hearing. And we have, do you want to do a roll call of your planning board, Charles?
Sure, thanks. Yeah. George Salimpsis.
Here.
Mark Maloney.
Here.
Emily Ash.
Here.
Nathan Hussey. Amy McMahon, alternate. Both, neither of them here. Charles Roberts here.
Okay, I'm going to read the public hearing notice, but I saw something in the chat. Someone was having trouble with the microphone. And although I'm no technical wizard, I do know that you go to the three dots on the bottom. On the bottom of your screen, there are three dots, and that will help you to bring up the microphone. Then you just push a button that says to make the microphone work. Okay? I'm going to read this public hearing notice now. In accordance with Home Rule Charter, the Economic Development Committee and the Planning Board will hold a joint public hearing on Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. at City Hall, second floor, 14 Court Square, or via remote, which is what we're doing, to consider the following proposed amendments to the Greenfield zoning ordinance. Extension of the GI zone on map 42 to include all or a portion of lot 4 that would include the shop building and run all the way down the river. To view the map, you go to greenfieldma.gov files 34 Colorado Ave, map parcel R42
Thank you.
-4-0. Amendments to chapter 200 zoning, section 7.17, marijuana establishments, including the addition of 2 definitions below and amending the ordinance where applicable to reflect the new definitions, marijuana courier and marijuana delivery operator or delivery operator. To view the complete amendment language, you go to greenfieldma.gov, files Amendment to Zoning Ordinance, Section 7.17, Marijuana Establishments. The City Council may consider the same on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at the John Zahn Community Center, 35 Pleasant Street, or via remote access if required. Materials can be obtained from the City Clerk's Office, 14 Court Square, by phone 413-772-1555, extension 6163, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or the Department of Planning and Development by phone 413-772-1549, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Respectfully submitted, Virginia DeSorga, Economic Development Committee Chairperson, Charles Roberts, Planning Board Chairperson. So, go on to the first item on the agenda. I do want to say if anybody wants to speak on, any of these issues, you write your name in the chat, and I'll be checking the chat to see if anybody is there that wants to speak, and then we'll turn that over. We'll certainly give you an opportunity to speak. First up, the City Council moved that it be ordered that the City Council of Greenfield amended the zoning map R42 by extending the General Industry District GI to include all or a portion of Lot 4 that would include the shop building and run all the way down the river, see map attached as Exhibit A, and further amends the table of contents and index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the City of Greenfield. Two-thirds vote required. Explanation of supporting rationale. This is from Alan and Janet Keys. I'm going to read their statement. When we first bought the property at 28 to 34 Colorado Ave, map parcel R42-4-0, it was zoned general industrial. Within a few years, the town wanted to make all of Colorado Ave residential. We asked for our property to remain industrial or commercial for the sake of our business that we ran in one of the buildings up and until a few years ago. For the past 50 years or so, our property tax bills have come through as residential/commercial. We are trying to sell the property and are finding that the current zoning is problematic, as the city zoning map has our property divided into two zones, general industrial and residential. Residential A. The shop that was commercial for many years is actually in the residential A zone. We are requesting that the general industrial zone be modified to include the shop building. The property is an ideal location for a proposed business, as it all by itself at the end of a dead-end road on the south end of Greenfield, and bordered mostly by the Deerfield River and by the City of Greenfield property. Making this zoning change should not impact the residential zone, as it is far enough from the abutters on Colorado Ave. Then there was an accompanying petition that was signed by more than the number of required signatures. So do I have anybody that wishes to speak on this? Oh, okay. I see. Hi there. I see Corinne Fitzgerald would like to speak on behalf of Janet and Alan Keys. So I'm going to be silent and turn that over to you. Okay, you may go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm calling on the phone because I couldn't seem to get my computer up and working, so I apologize. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay, great, thank you. So Janet and Alan Keys are here on the screen, and they're at my office. And I've been working with them for close to a year now, trying to help them sell their property at the end of Colorado Ave. And what's happening is that because the shop is in the residential A zone, it really does not fit the proper type of use that could be in that building. And because of where it's located, so far away from any kind of residential type of dwellings, there's one neighbor, but it's further up, but they're at the very end of the road, and the majority of their land goes down the hill to the Deerfield River. There are two other dwellings on the property that are residential, and for many, many years, it was served as they lived there and they ran the business there. But they have not run the business there in many years, and therefore, anything that they do moving forward is going to have to go for special permit. But if you go for special permit in a residential A zone, you're much more limited than to be able to use that shop in a way that is more amenable to what is there. And they're so close to the industrial zone on that one section that they're hoping that you can move the line so that it covers that building so that they can actually use that building for something that it could be intended for.
Very good. Thank you so much for that very clear explanation of that. Does anybody else wish to speak on that? Or does anybody have any questions for Corinne, if she's willing to accept them? So this parcel is split in two, correct, Director Tworog, and part of it's in the RA and part of it is in, it's cut in half, it's divided.
That is correct. I saw Councilor Elmer's hand up and George Saluse's hand up for questions.
Very good. Okay, so let's see, Councilor Elmer first, then, and thank you for telling me that.
I wondered if they knew what kind of business was proposed for that property.
I can answer that question. The current buyer for that property, and the only buyer we've had for that property, is somebody who is looking to do an outside grow for marijuana down at the riverbed. They would have to go through all of the proper proposals, but they could not use that storage, the building for storage of anything if it was still zoned residential A.
Thank you.
Very good. And I'm going to make sure I'm scrolling over. We have something, George Tlemcen, you also wanted to speak, correct?
Thank you, Councilor DeSorger. Yes, I just wanted to clarify the request is, it sounds like to keep the lot as a split zone, but move the line. So you're not requesting that the entire lot be zone GI. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. That's correct. Because there are two, if to know this property at the very end of Colorado Ave, when you first come into the cul-de-sac where they are, there's a single family 4-bedroom home, and then there's a 2-family with two bedrooms on the first floor, one on the second floor, and then the shop goes beyond it. Now that's on the top plateau. But the land, the majority of the land goes down the hill, part of which the town has access to utility, okay? And it goes down, way down below to the river level. So what we're looking at proposing here is just the shop and a part of the lower part of the riverbed. There's several acres of farmland down there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If it would be helpful, I put together just kind of like a Google map image of it. If people are interested in seeing that.
That would be great if you could put that up. I would love to see you put that up. I was going to try to do that myself, but if you have it, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Do I need to turn that over? Oh, you've got it. Very
So here, this is the lot we're looking at right here. It's this sort of
Yeah.
interesting sort of shape. This is the shop right here, and these are the houses. And so the proposal is to move the zone line so that it basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, correct me if I'm not. So that so the zone line goes down between the residential properties and the commercial property, and then this is the property that kind of slopes down to the bottom land along the Deerfield. So I guess this is the area that they're considering for cultivation, cannabis cultivation.
Yes, it's been farmland for many, many years, and this particular buyer, should he be able to get approval from the town, would be using it for agricultural purposes. But the zone, I wish you could see the zoning of where the actual industrial ends, and you can see the solar panels off the end, and you can see that there's power lines down below and all of that. Oh, there's my map. There you go. Okay, there you go. So you can see the gray is the industrial now. So we're just looking to move it a little bit further.
Right.
Right. So going back to this map here. Oops. Cancel.
Yeah, I tried to guesstimate the best I could for where the arrows are. Yeah.
So it looks like the existing zone line. Looks like the existing zone line kind of follows along my hand cursor here going down the screen. So we're
a little further to the right, but yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the red line?
Yeah, I think that's close.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of an estimate, but it's generally sort of like that. So this is the existing general commercial, and this is all the RA, and so the idea is to kind of move this line from here to here.
That's correct, and it would be industrial. We're not looking for commercial. We're looking to just expand the current the current zoning now.
Right, I missed
not to change it. It's just to extend it over.
Right.
There's more flexibility in that zone for someone to use that building. If you could only see what that building was like. I mean, Alan used it many years for an auto body, and he did car repairs in there. And it's a 2-story building, couple different bays. You know, it's a really good, solid building, but it's limited to what you can do with it. And it's all by itself. Besides those two, it's like a whole little world back there.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite far off. That was excellent screen sharing on your part, Charles.
Thank you.
Robert.
I was prepared.
And I would say that, Corinne, you did a very good job on your hand-drawn map. So thank you so much.
It's interesting to sort of look at it in the larger perspective too. With here's the transfer station and the PV panels, and that are off the transfer station access road and the river, and really is kind of at the end of things here. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Any other comments or questions?
George has a question.
Okay. George, yes.
Thank you again, Councilor DeSorga. This is a question for Director Twarog. I wondered how common it is in town for a lot to have a split zone. I'm not remembering that coming up very much, or ever.
This is Director Twarog. It's actually very common throughout the city.
Huh.
There are many lots that are split and there's a section of the zoning ordinance that directly deals with split lots.
Okay. I'll have to read that section. Thank you.
Wait, is there anything in that section, Director Turog, that's relevant to what we're considering here in terms of one use, one zone taking precedent over another, or if a lot's split in two
The
zones?
section applies as follows. It allows you to move the zoning district line 50 feet into the less restrictive district. It doesn't give them much in this case, but sometimes 50 feet is enough to make or break a project on a parcel that's divided by two zoning districts.
I see. So you could move a theoretical zoning line 50 feet without having to do a map change.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I have a question. Is that about 50 feet or more?
It
Or-
looks like it's a bit more.
Yes,
I
that's
think
what
it's
I
a lot
thought.
more than 50 feet.
It looks like several hundred feet.
But it's a very large parcel. It's how many acres? I forget. It's many-
22.9.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Corinne.
Right. So they wouldn't be able to do it under the 50-foot dimensional relief.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Councilor Elmer here. I just want to say that I think we should be encouraging people to sell their properties if they can. And I'm a great proponent of marijuana growth in Greenfield. It's a good source of revenue and good use of land, I think. So I would be in favor of this. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilor Hirschfeld, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, I think someone mentioned that DBW has some either sewer or water lines going through the property. Would that be a problem? Eric, do you
Give me
know?
1 second. I need to confer with my clients. Give me 1 second, okay?
Sure.
I did not look for the easements on this one.
The town has an easement over their property to a sump down below, correct?
Down below the water,
Down by the water line, down by the river.
water that comes out of the dump goes through that sump before it hits the river.
The water that comes out of the transfer station goes through a conduit.
Then to the sump and then to the river.
To the sump and then to the river. So it's an existing right of way the town has, down below.
Okay.
I don't believe it will affect it, will it, Alan?
Shouldn't affect it at
It
all.
shouldn't affect it at all. And if you approve this, and if this particular buyer is successful in getting the proper permitting, we do not believe that will affect this area. There's the small area of the 22 acres that they would be operating on or growing on. And we don't believe it will affect anything to do with the pump.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
I have a
Yes,
quick
Charles.
question. So is, in the future development of the parcel, is it possible to A&R off the residential lots from the larger parcel, so that the larger parcel could be developed independently or even sold independently of the residential properties?
No, doesn't meet the current requirements, and we couldn't subdivide it off. No, not the way the land lays. No,
So there's not sufficient frontage?
no, nope. And even if there was an ability to switch it, the whole point really is that the actual building, the shop, in a residential A zone is useless, completely useless. It's
No,
not.
I understand.
All right. Any further comments or questions on this? Just so you're aware of what the process is for tonight, Corinne and Mr. and Mrs. Keys, this is the public hearing part. I just wanted to inform you of this. After this ends, the city council hopefully will be deliberating and making a statement on this after we have finished things in order, but we will be taking this up this evening. That's our plan.
Thank you for clarifying that. Does that mean that you would be rendering a decision this evening? Or do you have a certain time frame that you do it?
No, I can't say that we will come to a decision tonight.
Oh, okay.
Generally, in the past, many times we have. And, but I know that the planning board is going to take this up at a later date, but we're going to take this up. I just want you to know that we're going to take this up right after, in order, it will be done in order of things, but it will be after the public hearing is closed. So if you want to stay tuned, that's all I wanted you to know. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
One last question, I'm sorry.
Yes.
During the deliberation, that's closed? The deliberation's closed?
Once we, yes, once we close the public hearing, that's the end of like input. So if you have something else to say, by all means, say it now.
No, I think we're good, right? I think we said everything that we thought was necessary and answered the questions to the best of our knowledge.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all the information that you provided.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, and just for everyone's information, the planning board have this on their agenda for their next meeting on Thursday, which I believe is the 16th.
Thursday, September 16th.
Right, we'll deliberate.
So Mr. and Mrs. Keys and Corinne, that will be taken up by the planning board at that point, and then that will go on to city, after the recommendations, it will go on to our city council meeting, which is, as I told you, in October. I don't have that date right in front of me.
It's October 20th.
Okay. All righty. So I'm going to read the next one. The city council moved that it be ordered that the city council of Greenfield amend the zoning ordinance, chapter 200, zoning section 7.17, marijuana establishments as attached in Exhibit A, and further amend the table of contents and index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the city of Greenfield. 2/3 vote required. And Director Tworog, could you give us an overview of this amendment, please?
Yes, I can, and thank you for the opportunity. So the Cannabis Control Commission, which I will refer to in the future as the Commission, has put forth new regulations on 2 new uses allowed for marijuana in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. One of those is marijuana courier. The other is a marijuana delivery operator. So we need to address those 2 uses in our zoning ordinance, which is what the purpose of this amendment is. We want to define those 2 uses and state which districts they're allowed in, and also to limit the number of marijuana delivery operators throughout the city. So the next thing in line, which is not part of this amendment, it will be on-site consumption. And once the commission puts forth its regulations on that, we will come back with another zoning amendment. But in this case, it's just the 2 uses: marijuana couriers, marijuana delivery operators. And let me define what a courier is. A marijuana courier is an entity that gets licensed through the commission and is allowed to deliver marijuana products directly to consumers from a marijuana retail establishment or medical marijuana dispensary establishment. They are not allowed, it is not considered retail, and they're not allowed to purchase the products at wholesale. A marijuana delivery operator is an entity licensed through the commission that is allowed to buy marijuana products from marijuana retailers and marijuana production facilities and at wholesale prices, and to white label those and resell them directly to consumers. This entity is also not considered a retail establishment.
And the zones that you recommended for courier and delivery by special permit are central commercial, limited commercial, and general commercial, the GI district, and the PI district. And am I correct that by not making any, by not delineating where we're going to do that, it's actually allowed everywhere? Am I correct in that, Director Tworog?
If we did not address these two new uses in our zoning ordinance, then ambiguity happens. It's unclear, could be lawsuits, or it's not clear what happens. So we want to address the uses in our ordinance so that we can regulate them.
So I'm going to open this up for questions for Director Tworog, or a comment by anyone who wishes to speak. Councilor Elmer.
Point of order, do you need a second on your motion?
I was actually reading the notice when we go in to deliberate. I'm going to read it again and we'll take a second and a vote.
Okay, thanks.
So questions on this for Director Tworog, or a comment by anyone? I have to scroll across. So if I'm missing you and your hand's up, somebody just tells me, that'd be great. Okay, looks like you gave an excellent presentation, Director Tworog, because no one had any big questions. Yes?
I just wanted to say the planning board had the benefit of working through this in several meetings with Eric, so.
Right.
We're pretty familiar with it at this point.
And I served on the planning board when this was a twinkle in their eye. I knew that this was coming, and I understand the reasoning for us putting it into certain zones. So I think you did a fine job on that. So are there any further comments from anybody on this? If not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. So I didn't hear you say it. This was to move to close the public hearing by Councilor Elmer.
So moved, yes, thank you.
Okay, so at 6:31 to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second, Hirschfeld.
Okay, second. All right. First is by Elmer, and second is by Hirschfeld. Okay, at 6:31 p.m. I believe that. I think, Charles, do you want to close your part of the public hearing now also?
Sure. Do I have a motion to close the planning board public hearing? These two
So
matters?
moved.
Second.
Okay.
Anything, whatever you need.
All right. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the public hearing is officially closed. So next up on our agenda is to take up the extension of the GI zone on map as we talked about. Would you like me to make that motion again? I guess so. Okay.
Well, at this point, it's the planning board.
The planning board is now, you may stay in, so you would be officially dismissed.
Right.
But you certainly are more than welcome, because we're going into two other things after this that may or may be of interest to you. but you'll see how our deliberations go, and we're taking up 2 other items that have to do with actual zoning. So that's entirely up to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so, all right, so planning board, you're at will.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to at will close the official part of our meeting?
Well, I think, did we, okay, so we closed the public hearing, now you want, okay, sure,
Well, Mr. Chairman, point of order.
yes.
If you have 3 members there, you have a meeting. So you need to adjourn
That's a
the
good
meeting.
point.
You need to either adjourn now or stay to the end and then adjourn at the end.
Or 2 of us could stick around and the rest of us could leave.
Correct.
George,
I would move to adjourn the planning board.
I will second.
any further discussion on the matter? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much, city councilors.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wait, so does this mean we all do, like, can we just stay to observe as citizens now that we've adjourned the planning board?
No, we can't. Only 2 of us can.
2 can.
We can if we don't participate.
Well, listen,
can-
I'll
we
take
can-
the hit and leave. I'll
we
take
can
the
listen.
hit for the team and head out.
Really, we're allowed to listen?
Yes,
I believe so.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Then
I'm gonna go back to work, but thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna mute myself and
Okay, very good. So I'm going to read this again, and I will need a second on this, all right? The city council moved that it be ordered that the city council of Greenfield amend the zoning map R42 by extending the general industry district GI to include all or a portion of lot 4 that would include the shop building and run all the way down the river, see map attached as Exhibit A, and further amend the table of contents and index of the code, and further that the non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the city of Greenfield. Two-thirds vote required.
Seconded, Elmer.
Okay. All right, so discussion. Anybody have thoughts on this? I know what you had to say, Councilor Elmer. I'm going to start off and say I agreed with you. No, you actually spoke on the other. I don't
No,
recall if you spoke.
I spoke on this.
Okay, so I agreed with you. I was in favor of this. I think it makes it easier for this is something that the owners themselves, it will be beneficial to them, and it will also be beneficial to the town, and it's a use that I certainly am in favor of. So I don't know if anybody else has any further thoughts or discussion. Councilor Hirschfeld, yes?
Yes, I also agree for the same reasons as Councilor Elmer. I think this is a good idea, both for the town, for the owner, for the people of Greenfield. So I would vote for it. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, can you please say aye?
Aye.
Okay, so that's 3 positive. There are no negatives and no abstentions. So the motion passes unanimously. Okay. And it was, I read the first and Councilor Elmer seconded it. So just for Corinne and the Keys who are listening, that was a positive vote from us. Okay. All right. Onward. That the city the city council moved that it be ordered that the city council of Greenfield amend the zoning ordinance, chapter 200 zoning, section 7.17, marijuana establishments as attached in Exhibit A, and further amends the table of contents and index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the code of the city of Greenfield. Do I have a second?
Seconded, Elmer.
Okay. And that was 2/3 vote required. So moved, Sorger, seconded by Elmer. All right, discussion on this. Councilor Elmer.
It seems like what's going on here is Greenfield's catching up with the state law that's changed. I noticed that Data in Northampton is offering deliveries. So this would make us competitive with Northampton.
Right. And I agree with you. And I noted the areas where they had selected to have the courier and the delivery operator certainly made sense and followed along in line with the districts where it was allowed. So I am definitely a yes on this. It made sense. Councilor Hirschfeld? Yes, go ahead. I can't hear you. You're on mute, I think.
Thank you. Yes, I'm definitely in favor of this. I think we're playing catch up with the state regs, and the state regs will there'll probably be more coming out from the state on this. But this is the basic basis of operation for this. Thank you.
Agreed. Any further discussion? Okay, so we had a motion and a second, so I'm going to take a vote. All in, I guess I'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Elmer? Yes, that was a yes from Councilor Elmer, who's
Yes.
muted.
Yes.
And Councilor Hirschfeld?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilor DeSorger is a yes, so that's 3 yeses. There are no abstentions and there are no noes. Okay? All right, onward. The next thing that's up is the authorization to release the city's right of title and interest of the paper street located at 61 to 71 Montague City Road. So let me read that in entirety. Okay. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Roxanne Wedegartner, moved that it be ordered that the City Council authorizes the mayor to release the city's right, title, and interest in the paper street that goes across the property as shown on Plan Book C, page 97, and further described as follows. Beginning at a point on the northeasterly corner of Lot 13, thence continuing in a westerly direction along lots 14 and 15, and a portion of lot 16 to the easterly side of the existing private road, a total distance of approximately 260 feet, thence northerly along the private road to lot 38, being approximately 60 feet, thence easterly along lot 38, 39, and 40, and lot 23 to Montague City Road, approximately 260 feet. And then southerly along Montague City Road, approximately 60 feet to the point of beginning all as shown on a certain plan of land recorded in the Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 6, page 97. Majority vote required. Do I have a second? Just,
Seconded, Elmer.
okay. Okay. There was a memo from the chief of staff, maps of 61 to 71 Montague City Road, paper street plans, plots of land for our parcel, documents from the owner and the deed, and memos from the department heads. The two department heads that weighed in were the Director of Planning, Director Tworog, and Director Warner, head of the Department of Public Works, and they had no issues with this whatsoever. The street is a paper street. In other words, as I'm sure you all read the memo from Danny Letourneau and looked at the maps, of which there were many that were detailed and I thought very well done. There is no actual street there, but this makes the transfer and sale of this this makes the transfer and sale of this possible. But further discussion. Go ahead, Councilor Elmer.
I don't, no, I'm not muted.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't see any problem with erasing a paper street that doesn't exist and that none of the department heads have a problem with. But I'm always curious, do you know what the new buyer wants to do with the property?
I have an inkling about what that might be, because that's always my first guess to Councilor Elmer. And I think I am not sure about that, but I have heard that that by not having a paper street, that may make it possible for I don't know exactly what's going in there, but it might make it easier for development of housing. Because if you have a paper street, this is the thing with a paper street, then you have a setback requirement for a street that's non-existent. So I don't think it makes sense, in my opinion, to burden the owner with any setback requirements on a paper street that really aren't there. And as you look, like I went to the zoning, I always go to the GIS and I look at this and that, and there's actually land behind. So something else might be going in there. And I personally am just not in favor of tying somebody's hands for that, because the street is non-existent at current and nobody had a problem with it. Further discussion?
We could certainly use the housing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Councilor Hirschfeld.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I think historically, this was also the landing zone for the old ski jump that used to be back there.
Uh-huh.
But I'm definitely in favor of giving this up.
Okay. Any further discussion? You ready to take a vote then? I should do a roll call vote, okay? Councilor Elmer, are you?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilor Hirschfeld?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilor DeSorger is a yes. So that's 3 in favor. We don't have any abstentions and we have no no's, okay? Okay. All right. So next up, and very patiently waiting, and Councilor Dolan is here. And Councilor Dolan, I would like to apologize first for goofing up your schedule if I did, by thinking that this needed to be next month, because I was in error about that. So I welcome you tonight and thank you so much for your patience waiting. Okay, but we'd love to hear what you had to say. So take it away, Councilor Dolan.
I really appreciate the time, and I'll try to, keep it pretty brief. This is something that's going to be a years long project, so this month or next month doesn't make a huge difference to me. Basically, I've been looking at the Hope Street lot as someone who lives in that neighborhood for a really long time, and I'm trying to kind of build some consensus around an idea I have, and that is to redevelop that parking lot as housing once the temporary fire station is gone. So there are a lot of ways that this could work. I'm not a developer. I'm not going to, try to propose some sort of plan, but my vision is a nice 3 or 4 story apartment building with 12 to 20 units. Many, if not all of those units could be accessible because they're new, and also some green space. Like I particularly been pulling for a playground downtown. We don't really have one, but that'll be sorted out in the final design if this comes to pass. The reason that I'm pushing this forward is I think that land is actually too valuable and too important to use for surface parking. Like surface parking is well documented is the least valuable land use of all the land uses that a city has. There's a lot of upkeep, is very little revenue compared to a well-developed plot on the tax rolls. So on top of that, it's also ugly and it's unsafe. It has a lot of entrances and exits. People go really fast through that parking lot and out of that parking lot, and it kind of disconnects those residential neighborhoods from the rest of downtown. They could really be an extension of downtown, but that lot cuts off the flow. And I mean, I think the elephant in the room in this conversation is the parking garage, which we just built and which is actually quite nice. I've asked the city for a long time for at the beginning of thinking about this for real parking numbers, and it turns out we don't really keep those. So we have no way of telling how occupied that garage is, but I think anybody who goes by it fairly recently can say that it's pretty underutilized. We in general, I think, have an oversupply of parking in the community, and the change that I'm proposing, redeveloping the site, would kind of push courthouse parking half a block into the garage, not much of a burden. The garage would be more heavily utilized, and hopefully having more traffic and more people in there would help us with some of the other problems that we discussed at the last meeting that we've been seeing in the parking garage. It's the fact that it's empty, or large parts of it are empty for much of the day, that lead to those problems, I think.
Right.
While Greenfield has a lot of parking, this housing crisis that we're in just keeps getting deeper and deeper. I mean, I think the cost to buy a house has gone up 30% in the last year or two. It's really outrageous, and it's really unaffordable for people. The Hope Street site as a housing site is walkable, and it's also transit oriented. And it's an opportunity, if we find the right developer and really develop the right vision, it's an opportunity to build the kinds of housing that we need. We don't need a lot of big units right now. We need small units for single people that are affordable on the wages that are paid around here. So the site's viable. The example of the old mix and match building, which is obviously not affordable housing, but it's a building that works in that neighborhood, and it's probably one of the most valuable buildings, based on square footage in town. So the last thing I'll say is the revenue part. I was a big supporter of the library, big supporter of the fire station. This is an idea that could return a major piece of land, city-owned land, to the tax rolls with a big project, and it would be a nice gesture to all the folks who supported the library and all the folks who are concerned about the tax rate, the tax implications of these projects we're doing, to put something back in, get some revenue from this series of projects that will be generated over the course of many years. So like I said, I won't take up too much of your time. I'm happy to talk about this with anybody out of the meeting. Happy to do a walkthrough, talk about possibilities. I am trying to get various committees to
Mhm.
vote on something, a
Okay.
resolution or some sort of a suggestion to the mayor. The parking and traffic folks have already done that, and I'm supposed to meet with SGIC this month. We were supposed to do it last month, but the meeting got canceled. So if it's something that EDC is interested in or interested in having the mayor pursue, that would be an action that could be taken.
I think I think you have a fabulous idea right there, actually, Councilor Dolan, and I'm so happy that we had time to hear what you had to say tonight. I think that by the time that the temporary fire station is out of there, people will be used to not having that area of parking. I thought you had I hadn't listened to in entirety what you had to say before, and the part about the speeding, people going in and out a park downtown. I think, and near the transit station, I think that's an excellent idea. So those are my thoughts on that. And so I'm just going to ask you a question. When you went to the parking commission, did they? So we brought this up, and I know that you are very familiar with all of the rules of how this is done. Even more so, I'm going to say, than myself. So this is something that I think is a good idea. And how could we best, well, let's hear what my other counselors think. Okay. So not mine, you other, the rest of you, that nobody belongs to anybody, but I said that incorrectly. Go ahead. If anybody else wants to say something.
Can I speak?
Yes, of course.
I think it sounds like a terrific idea. I will say that since the temporary fire station moved in, that parking garage is getting used a lot more. And it's nice to see, I give Margot a hard time all the time because she helped design it, and it was an embarrassment to her that it wasn't getting used. So I think you're right. I think people will get used to not having that. I think there's some of those spaces, I believe, were owned by people in the court, and some deal is going to have to be made. But what has to happen? Does the mayor have to give up the land? Do they have to be requests for proposals? What's the next step?
So this is the hard part. The idea is the easy part. My understanding is that the only way this kind of infill project gets done, and this is not a process that I've been to, this is something that I learned from talking to folks, is that the city really needs to go out and find the right developer with the right priorities and the right scope and kind of court them. We have to bring projects around to developers and sell them. I don't think that we're at a point in the housing market now where we can just wait around for people to, someday fill in the Chapman Street hole or something like that. Like, the city has to kind of take a proactive role in that infill development specifically. So what I'm trying to do is give the executive branch a little push now, because we need to get started now, to kind of lay some of the foundations, start talking to folks about what that site could be, and also start talking to the community about what we need. Because in that negotiation process, I think the city will have some ability to set standards for what we want.
Can I weigh in as a member of the interested public?
I personally don't have a problem with that. Is this okay? Oh, I feel that it's okay. Go ahead. Does anybody else have a problem with that? Okay, go ahead, Charles.
All right. Well, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think that the town can leverage the value of its property and land to bring property to the table, so that developers aren't carrying property costs through the development of a project. And I think that you could have a visioning sort of process with the community. And what you want to do, I would think, is develop kind of a program that you would release as an RFP. And you could, it would be, I think it has to be an open process where we're essentially selling town property. And so it has to be an RFP sent out for that, but the RFP can be attached to a program, and we can target developers, but it would be listed on, I think it would be listed on the, the DCAM project, sheet, and it would go out to the general public, but there is a pathway for it, and I think it would be really great. So,
Mhm.
and, that's my thinking. I'll go back to into my anthole here.
Always happy to hear from you.
And Councilor Hirschfeld.
Yeah, I'd also like to see some parameters for mixed income if it's going to be housing. We need affordable housing in this, I think in the downtown area, not just market rate housing. A good mix of it. As far as a park, if you can put a park in that area, fine. I don't know how that density would work out. I guess you'd have to see, city would have to see, really come up with some ideas of exactly what it wants and what it doesn't want before it looks for a developer or to work out with a developer, and be pretty clear on what it doesn't want.
Very good. So I'm just going to say one thing first, if that's okay, Councilor Elmer. I just love the part that you were thinking about making sure that we had handicap accessible housing, because that is something that is desperately lacking in the downtown area. And
disadvantage of having such old housing stock, for
sure. This is absolutely true. So I'm sorry I went ahead of you, Councilor Elmer. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that the property is more valuable now because we've put electric in there and probably water too. So some of the work has been done. In terms of a park, I've been thinking about this in terms of the armory and wondering how that could possibly be turned into residential because the windows are so small. But what I've seen done in other buildings like that is you make the center of it a shared green space, and then the apartments go around it. And something might be maybe done with this property that we're talking about. One more thing is that to get a developer to build it, it's going to have to be profitable for them. So that's going to be the trade-off. They'll put as much affordable housing as we require, but they're not going to do the job if it isn't profitable. So that's all my thoughts. I think it's a great idea.
So it seems like from economic development, you came up with a winner of an idea. From what I can see from the three of us, Councilor Dolan, I'd like to commend you for going to all the different committees. Well, first of all, for thinking of it. I think that was brilliant, where the water and the electricity was in there. I actually, that was not on my radar. And I worried about the armory. I mean, I think that's a great idea that you had, Councilor Elmer, but I worried about that because it's already there. And sometimes if a building doesn't have the elevators, et cetera, it's pretty hard to retrofit. But to start this from scratch, right in a place where we haven't been using. So I am in favor of that. Would it, do you, and I'm just going to ask you, because I honestly don't know. Would it help if we didn't have anything, we had a discussion, this is what's on the agenda. So I'm just asking you, because I don't know. Discussion, proposed use for the Hope Street parking lot. It sounds like this Economic Development Commission is in favor of it. So I'm just asking for a little guidance here. Suggestion? from Councilor Dolan?
Um,
I mean,
If
I
you'd
just don't know,
like-
unless if somebody else knows what to do, that I don't.
I think it's really about expressing our desires to the executive. I mean, it's
Exactly.
their wheelhouse to get this process started and to do work on all the specifics. But I think what we could do, if you'd like, I could write up a resolution for the committee that could be forwarded to some of the ideas and the rationale.
That would be great, because I think that you definitely
That's the
had
only
a
thing I can do,
consensus of that. And I would be, if you actually sent me something, then I could give that report at committee chairs, you know, because you had all the wonderful pieces that I was trying to take notes on in chicken scratch doing this, but do we need to vote? Do we need to vote on anything that were, okay, so, because I really, yes.
Can I just, if there were some language, I think it sounds like we would give it a positive recommendation, could send that forward to the council, but we can't really do it without the language, I think. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to gauge who's interested in what at this point, but I'm happy to forward that. And if there's a consensus, then it should fly through at the next meeting.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's necessary to bring it to full council. I mean, I think that's up to you as the chair. It could also just be a resolution from EDC as the land use body.
Okay.
Either way.
All righty. So we definitely, you hit a group that thought you had a winner of an idea and a group that favors housing. So I'd like to thank you for your time. And I will, when I give the report, maybe we can touch base. Okay. We'll touch base and you'll send me that. So thank you so much for coming and for being amenable to all of the changes in the schedules. And
I appreciate the time.
All right. Very good. So onward. Is there any new business? Okay. Any old business? Okay. So now I want to tell you that tomorrow night we have a joint meeting at 6 p.m. with economic development. So we have 2 nights in a row. So we're going to make this quick because it's somebody here's birthday. No, because we're actually done our work, but I'm wishing you a happy birthday. So tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., we have a joint meeting with Ways and Means. So that is our next meeting. And then at the end of this, it says I'm supposed to say our next meeting of economic development is October 12th at 6 p.m. That will also be a joint meeting with Ways and Means and Assessing, because that's a 2-night job. So I just wanted to announce that. Councilor Hirschfeld.
Yes, I won't be able to make tomorrow night's meeting. I will be out of state and out of cell phone. So I'm sorry, I won't make that meeting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for letting me know. So at this point, I would take a motion to adjourn, unless there's anything else.
So moved, Elmer.
All right. I'll go motion to it. And so I have 7:10 p.m. Is there a second on that?
Second, Hirschfeld.
All right. So at 7:10 p.m., second Hirschfeld. Okay. Thank you all so much.